I'm Sheila, and my life changed completely when I started teaching French to a quiet 14-year-old girl named Amy. Her father, Tom, would often pick her up from the lessons. The first time we spoke, it was about nothing special: school schedules, homework, usual parent-teacher stuff. But as the days rolled by, those little chats turned into long conversations about everything and nothing. Tom was a widower, something he shared one day with a shrug and a shadow across his usual easygoing smile. He was raising Amy and her younger brother, Max, on his own. It struck a chord in me. I saw their little trio fighting the world together, and it pulled at my heartstrings. He was doing his best, but anyone could see it was wearing him down. One evening, he came by a bit earlier than usual. "Fancy grabbing a coffee? I could use a good moan about my day," he half-joked, with a weary grin. I hesitated for a moment, but then thought, why not? Sure, let me just grab my coat. Sitting across from him in the tiny cafe down the street, we dove into the chaos of our lives. His struggles as a single dad, my tales of the often outrageous school board meetings, it all spilled out. His laugh, genuine and hearty, made me laugh too, and for a moment, it felt like we'd known each other for years. "Seriously, Sheila, you're a godsend for Amy. She's come alive with her French this semester," Tom said earnestly, stirring his coffee slowly. "Thanks, Tom. She's a smart kid. Just needs a little push now and then," I replied, pleased with the progress Amy had made. As weeks turned into months, our casual coffee turned into dinner, and then into more. It wasn't long before he invited me over to meet Max, who was shy but warmed up after I showed him some basic phrases in Italian, my other teaching subject. "You're like a language wizard, Sheila," Max exclaimed one evening as I helped him with a phrase for his school project. "Just tricks of the trade, kiddo," I grinned. Meeting Tom's mother, Martha, was another chapter in itself. She was a sturdy woman, with a sharp tongue and a heart of gold buried under a tough exterior. The first time I visited their home, she sized me up with a scrutinizing look. "So you're the teacher who's stolen my son's evenings," she stated bluntly, but with a twinkle in her eye. "Guilty as charged, Mrs. M," I joked, and to my relief, she burst out laughing. "I like you. Keep my boy on his toes, will you?" she said, and from then on, I knew I was in. Tom's family slowly became mine. The kids, the mother-in-law who could cook up a storm while dishing out life advice, I soaked it all in. It felt right, like I was where I was supposed to be. When Tom proposed, it was simple, no grand gestures. Just him, me, and a ring, over a quiet dinner at home. I packed up my little apartment, gave away half my stuff, and moved into his bustling, lively house. The day I shifted my last box, I looked around, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. "Well, this is it. My new home," I muttered to myself, tugging at a stray strand of hair that had escaped my ponytail. The kids were a different story. Amy was easy, she already knew and liked me. "Sheila, are you going to change our Pizza Fridays?" was her biggest concern. "No way, Pizza Fridays are sacred," I laughed, relieved at her easy acceptance. Max, though, he watched me with cautious eyes. One afternoon, I found him in the living room, his homework spread out in front of him like a shield. "Need help with that?" I offered, nodding towards his math workbook. He shrugged. "Maybe. I guess." I sat down beside him and pointed at a problem. "Let's tackle this one together." As we worked through his homework, Max loosened up, his guarded demeanor easing as he realized I wasn't there to replace anyone, just to help out. "Thanks, Sheila," he said, a small smile cracking his serious facade. "Anytime, kiddo. Anytime." Living with Martha, Tom's mom, added another layer to our household dynamic. One morning, while making breakfast, she cornered me by the fridge. "You're doing it all wrong, dear," she commented as I fumbled with the omelet. I turned, a spatula in hand. "Oh, I am? Well, I'm all ears if you've got tips." Martha didn't hesitate. "Less milk, more butter, and always add the cheese last. Makes it better," she instructed, her tone brooking no argument. "Got it, less milk, more butter. Cheese last," I repeated, eager to learn her kitchen secrets. And don't be stingy with the seasoning. Food's gotta have some personality, she added, a smirk playing on her lips. Personality, I can do, I grinned back, starting to enjoy our banter. The real test came with hosting our first big dinner party. Tom's colleagues, a boisterous crowd, filled our home with loud laughs and clinking glasses. I flitted around, making sure everyone had what they needed, my nerves tightly coiled. During the night, Tom pulled me aside, a proud gleam in his eye. You're amazing, you know that? Everyone loves you. Just trying to keep up with you, I said, my cheeks warming under the spotlight of his praise. During one of the many gatherings at our house, I had the opportunity to meet and converse with Tom's boss, Ms. Carter. Over glasses of wine and between laughs, we found common ground on numerous topics, from the challenges of leadership to our love for mystery novels. Her insight and strong sense of justice impressed me, and a friendship began to form. Each day, I wove myself more into the fabric of this family. From morning rushes to get the kids off to school, to late-night chats with Tom about what tomorrow might bring, I found my place. I wasn't just living here, I was truly home. Life threw us a curveball when Martha suffered a severe stroke. This once vibrant and sharp-tongued woman was now bedridden, her fierce independence crumbled overnight. Tom made the decision without hesitation, she would move in with us. She's my mom, Sheila. We need to take care of her here, he stated plainly, his face etched with worry. I nodded, knowing full well the responsibility would largely fall on my shoulders. Of course, Tom. We'll manage, like we always do. But as weeks turned into months, the weight of caregiving fell heavier on me. Martha needed constant care, bathing, dressing, feeding, all of which she loathed needing help with. I tried to bring lightness to her days, joking as I cooked her special meals. You gotta eat this, Martha. Gotta keep you strong and feisty. She'd scoff her reply, just make sure it's edible, Sheila. Tom's presence became scarce, work, or so he claimed, kept him away. The kids, now teenagers, were wrapped up in their own lives, leaving me to juggle caregiving with managing the house. One particularly hard day, after Martha had accidentally knocked over her meal, frustration boiled over. I can't do this right. I'm not cut out for this, I cried out, mopping up the mess. Tom walked in just then, his face drawn. Sheila, just do what you can. It's all we ask. His words stung, a slap of inadequacy. It's all you ask because you're not the one doing it. I snapped back, the stress fracturing my composure. We're all dealing with this, Sheila, Tom said, his voice low and cold, not understanding or not willing to. The years crawled by, and Martha's health continued to decline until she passed away quietly one night. The funeral was a blur of faces, condolences mingled with the relief that her suffering had ended. But the real shock came after we laid Martha to rest. Almost immediately, the atmosphere at home shifted. Tom's demeanor changed overnight. Gone was the partnership we had built, in its place was a cold indifference that I couldn't comprehend. One evening, as I was clearing the dinner dishes, he dropped his bombshell. Sheila, you should start sleeping in the guest room, he said abruptly, not even bothering to look at me. I stopped mid-motion, a plate in hand. What are you talking about, Tom? Why would I do that? Because I can't stand sleeping next to you anymore. I'm tired of all this, he said harshly, his words slicing through the air. I felt my heart crack, tears stinging my eyes. What did I do wrong, Tom? He scoffed. It's not about right or wrong, Sheila. It's about necessity. And I don't need you anymore. The kids are grown, my mom's gone. What use are you now? His words were a blow I couldn't have anticipated. So, I was just a convenience? A nursemaid, a nanny? That's all it ever was, Sheila. You did your part, and now, well, it's time to move on, he muttered, turning away. I felt a chill settle in my soul. The home I had loved turned into a house of strangers, a place where I was no longer welcome. The following weeks were a torment of whispered insults and overt disdain, particularly from Max and Amy, who had once hugged me as their own. You're not our mom. Remember that, Amy hissed one day when I asked her about her plans for college. Each day was harder than the last, and not just emotionally, my body was breaking down too. The years of stress and constant caregiving had taken their toll. My legs ached unbearably, throbbing with a pain that made every step an ordeal. One morning, as I limped across the kitchen to make breakfast, Amy watched me with a cold detachment. "You're just a burden, you know, can't even take care of yourself," she sneered, her voice dripping with disdain. I clenched my fist around the countertop, trying to steady myself against the sharp sting of her words. "I've always cared for you all, Amy." "Why are you saying this?" "Because it's true," she snapped back. "You've got nobody. Who would want you now?" Her words echoed in the empty kitchen, a painful reminder of my isolation. Tom's reactions were no kinder. One evening, seeing me struggle to stand after cleaning up the dinner table, he scoffed. "Can you do anything right anymore? You're just taking up space." I swallowed hard, the hurt evident in my eyes. "Tom, I'm in pain. I can hardly walk some days. Don't you see?" "See what? That you're a worthless parasite now? That's all I see," he retorted harshly, not bothering to hide his contempt. I had thought about leaving, about ending this mockery of a marriage, but the reality was harsh. My health was failing, and without my teaching job, I had no income. Renting an apartment seemed like a distant dream. I was trapped. Max was no easier on me. "Why are you still here?" he'd ask every time he saw me. "You're just a maid, nothing more." Despite the unrelenting pain and the cruel barbs, I continued to do all I could around the house. I cooked their meals, cleaned after them, my body screaming in protest with each movement. The irony wasn't lost on me, I was caring for the very people who despised me. One particularly hard day, I had collapsed in the bathroom, my legs giving out after hours of chores. Lying there on the cold tile, I had never felt so alone. Tom found me eventually, his face devoid of any concern. "What are you doing, Sheila? Get up," he demanded, his voice cold. "I can't, my legs won't," I gasped, the pain overwhelming. With a grunt, he reached down, not to help me up, but to drag me out of the way. "You're blocking the door. Move." Lying there, moved aside like an obstacle, something inside me hardened. This wasn't living, this was mere existence at the mercy of people who once claimed to love me. Days blurred into weeks, and I watched as Tom and the kids wasted Martha's inheritance on flashy gadgets and designer clothes, flaunting their new purchases with a casual cruelty. They seemed to revel in my growing isolation, reminding me daily that I was here out of their supposed pity. "You're lucky we even let you stay here," Tom would say, his voice dripping with disdain as he showed off his latest high-end watch. "And don't you forget it," Amy added sharply, her eyes cold and unyielding. One afternoon, with the house mercifully quiet and my chores momentarily forgotten, I found myself aimlessly browsing the internet. By chance, or maybe fate, I stumbled upon a website for private tutors teaching languages online. Curiosity piqued, I read through the testimonials and the success stories. A plan began to form, wild and risky, but it was a lifeline. The next day, as soon as the house emptied, I set up my old laptop in the quiet corner of my room. This could actually work, I muttered to myself, creating a profile and listing my years of teaching experience. I started with basic French lessons, and to my surprise, I was a natural at engaging students over video calls. Word of mouth spread quickly, and soon, I had a steady stream of students. With each lesson, my confidence grew, and so did my bank account. I was astounded to see that I was earning more than Tom now, a fact I kept carefully hidden. I upgraded my teaching setup quietly, buying a better webcam and microphone with my earnings, always careful to hide any evidence of my new venture. My heart raced every time Tom or the kids neared my workspace, fearing they'd discover my secret. One evening, as I discreetly moved my new microphone into its hiding place, Max barged into the room, his eyes suspicious. "What are you hiding?" he demanded, his voice harsh as he glanced around, sniffing out a secret. "Nothing important. Just some old school stuff," I lied smoothly, blocking his view to my storage spot. He shrugged and left, but the close call left me shaken. Despite the fear, my double life brought me a sense of purpose and a glimmer of hope. I wasn't just the downtrodden maid they saw me as. I was Sheila, the respected online French tutor, a woman with students who valued and appreciated her. Late one night, as I counted my earnings, a realization dawned on me. I had enough saved for a new beginning, away from this toxic household. The thought was thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. I began to plan, to dream of an escape. But I knew I had to be patient, to bide my time until I could leave without risking everything I had worked so hard to build. This isn't forever, Sheila. Just a bit longer, I whispered to myself, a mantra to keep the flames of hope alive in the darkest moments. My secret world of teaching was more than a job now. It was my escape plan, my path to freedom. The evening started like any other, with me preparing dinner as Tom and the kids lounged around the living room. The air was filled with the usual chatter and the clinking of utensils, but there was a tension that I couldn't quite place. As we gathered at the dining table, Tom cleared his throat, commanding attention with an air of self-importance that made my stomach churn. "I've got some news," Tom announced, his voice carrying a hint of triumph. "I received a big promotion at work. We're moving up in the world." The kids perked up, their eyes wide with anticipation. I smiled politely, hoping my role in their lives had earned me a spot in this new chapter. But the cold look in Tom's eyes dashed any such hopes. "We're moving to a new house," he continued, his gaze fixed on me with a hardness that made my heart sink. "A bigger place, more fitting for my status. And," he paused for effect, a cruel smile playing on his lips, "I'll be taking only the kids. You, Sheila, you're not coming." The room went silent. I felt every eye on me, waiting for a crack in my composure. "Why, Tom? Why would you leave me behind?" I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "Because, Sheila, you're an old limp. You're not the vibrant woman I married," he jeered, the words cutting deeper than he probably intended. "I need someone younger, someone who can keep up with me and my new life." Amy, ever the echo of her father, chimed in with a snicker. "Yeah, this house has already been sold anyway. The new owners will kick you out, so you better start packing." My heart raced, panic and betrayal swirling into a toxic mix. But as Tom slid the divorce papers across the table towards me, something within me steeled. I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I simply took the pen and signed my name with a firm hand. I stood up, my legs shaky but holding. The room felt suffocating, the walls closing in with every mocking laugh and sneer from Tom and the kids. "You're pathetic, you know that? Good luck finding a flophouse to spend your nights," Tom taunted as I walked away from the table. I went straight to my room, my sanctuary in this house of horrors. The plan I had been secretly formulating now clicked into place with urgent clarity. I began packing my bags, each piece of clothing, every document, my precious laptop, the tools of my newfound independence, all tucked away with meticulous care. As the sun rose, I dragged my suitcases to the front door. Tom and the kids were already in the kitchen, no doubt discussing their grand new future. I didn't bother with goodbyes. What was there to say to people who saw me as nothing but a burden? I stepped out of the house, the door closing behind me with a finality that echoed in my ears. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The past was a dark chapter closed, and ahead of me lay the uncertainty of freedom, a freedom hard-won and utterly necessary. I moved into my rented apartment with nothing but my suitcases and a heart full of mixed emotions, relief, fear, excitement. As I unpacked, I set up my workspace by the window, my laptop open and ready. "This is it, Sheila. A fresh start," I murmured to myself, feeling a strange peace settling over me. It was quiet, so blissfully quiet. No harsh words, no mocking laughter. Just the soft hum of the city outside. Surprisingly, within just a few weeks of moving out, I noticed a significant change in my health. My legs, which had pained me so severely before, began to heal. The constant, throbbing ache faded each day until, one morning, I realized I was pain-free. I couldn't help but wonder if the stress and unhappiness had been aggravating my condition all along. During the divorce proceedings, I faced Tom and the kids one last time. They were smug, assured, laughing among themselves as if they were at a casual family gathering. When it was my turn to speak, I stood, my voice clear and steady. Your Honor, the man sitting there and his children are strangers to me now. I have nothing to claim from them, not now, not ever. Tom's laughter echoed in the silent courtroom, a sound that once would have broken me. Now, it was just noise, irrelevant and distant. After the divorce was finalized, I learned through mutual friends that Tom had indeed moved into his fancy new house, but he hadn't used the money from the old house sale to secure it. Instead, he and the kids had blown through cash on luxuries, utterly careless of the future. It was around that time that I decided to take further action. I needed closure, something to put an end to that chapter of my life for good. I called Tom's boss. Ms. Carter, it's Sheila. Could we meet? I have something important to discuss. Of course, Sheila. How about tomorrow at the cafe on Main Street? She responded, her tone warm yet curious. Sitting across from her the next day, I felt a twinge of nervousness. Ms. Carter looked at me with concern. You look well, Sheila, but I sense this isn't a simple catch-up. What's on your mind? Taking a deep breath, I handed her a small dictaphone. I recorded some things before I left Tom. I think you should hear them. Her expression turned serious as she listened through headphones. The color drained from her face as the harsh voices of Tom and his children filled her ears. She took off the headphones, her hands slightly trembling. Sheila, I'm so sorry. I had no idea it was this bad. I managed, but I thought you should know the kind of people you're dealing with, I said, my voice steady despite the emotional weight of our conversation. Ms. Carter nodded, her eyes steely with resolve. Thank you for bringing this to me. I'll handle it from here. I left the cafe feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly vindicated, my story acknowledged by someone with the power to make things right. A couple of days after my meeting with Ms. Carter, I was enjoying a quiet morning in my apartment, savoring the peace I had long missed, when my phone erupted into a jarring ring. The screen flashed Tom's name. Reluctantly, I answered. Sheila, you've ruined everything. Tom's voice was frantic, a mix of rage and desperation I had never heard from him before. In the background, Amy and Max's voices rose in a cacophony of anger and panic. What's happened, Tom? I asked, feigning ignorance, my heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and a strange, burgeoning triumph. Those recordings. Because of them, I've been demoted at work. They've slashed my salary, and now we're on the verge of losing the house. We can't make the mortgage payments, he bellowed, each word laced with blame and fear. Oh, is that so? I replied coolly, a smirk playing on my lips as I listened to his plight. I know you have money. You have to help us. You owe us that much. He continued, his voice cracking under the strain. In the background, I could hear Amy hissing, tell her we'll take her back if she helps. Max chimed in, desperation clear in his tone. Yeah, come back, Sheila. We didn't mean any of those things we said. I laughed, a genuine, hearty laugh that felt liberating. Tom, remember when you told me I was an old limp and should find a flophouse to stay in? It seems the tables have turned, I said, my voice steady and strong. There was a pause, a breath of silence on the line as the weight of my words sank in. Please, Sheila, we're begging you, Tom pleaded, his voice now a whisper of its former self. I'm not your maid, Tom, nor your safety net. You made your choice, and now you live with it. I hung up the phone, a sense of finality washing over me. I immediately blocked all their numbers, severing the last ties I had to a painful, oppressive past. Days later, through mutual friends who were more sympathetic to my cause than Tom's, I learned that they were indeed evicted from the mansion. Tom, Amy, and Max were now living in a cramped apartment, much like the many homes they had mocked before. The children had to pick up various jobs to make ends meet, a far cry from their previous life of luxury and entitlement. As for me, the success of my online tutoring had not only provided a stable income but had grown beyond my expectations. I was now considering buying a small house, a place truly my own, free from the shadows of my past. Each day was filled with the joy of teaching, connecting with students across the globe, and building a community that valued and respected me.